Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over potential winter storm Peggy, which is going to be moving throughout parts of the northern plains into the Great Lakes and then into the northeast. Some of these areas could be picking up more than 6 inches of snowfall, especially in parts of northern Wisconsin and northern Michigan. We're going to be timing this storm out for you guys and giving you my updated forecast on this event, as well as giving you an update on those very cold temperatures that are going to be coming in right behind this system. So let's get right into it here, and let's start off with the current National Weather Service page. And we actually do have some blizzard warnings in effect for north central Iowa. And if you're wondering why I didn't name the title potential blizzard Peggy or something around around blizzard, because we do technically have some blizzard warnings in place, it's mainly because it's not for most of the storm. It would be very misleading of me to say that the entire path of the storm would be experiencing blizzard conditions. And also those winds are going to be fairly marginal. They will be right around 35 miles per hour, so they will be right around that criteria. So it's not a full-blown blizzard. You will have reduced visibility and some windy conditions if you live over north central Iowa, although for the rest of the area inside of the storm, it's not really going to be too much of a blizzard. Maybe some gusty winds and some snow, although nothing that would really reach those blizzard potential unless you live again in north central Iowa, where they do have some blizzard warnings in effect. We have some winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings out through the western United States. Winter storm warnings in the pink, winter weather advisories in the purple. We have winter storm watches in effect in that dark blue there, and actually some avalanche warnings in effect for parts of west central parts of Colorado there. We also have some wind chill advisories and warnings for northern parts of Alaska, and some wind advisories scattered throughout the southwest. We have freeze warnings in effect for northern Florida, frost advisories for southern Florida, and some freeze watches in effect for central Florida, with some more wind advisories back through the mid-Atlantic, winter weather advisories in effect for parts of Iowa and Nebraska, and as well a little part of Minnesota there, and a little bit of Wisconsin, as well as some more winter storm watches back through Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and into the UP of Michigan, with some winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories in northern upstate New York. Your high temperature yesterday was tied in two areas in Arizona. Gila Bend, Arizona, and Goldfield, Arizona, both got to 85 degrees, and your low temp for the day was in Peter Sinks, Utah, -9 degrees, and they're not actually that far away, but mainly because of elevation and also just where they are geographically. They did get very different temperatures. In the mountains, it was very, very cold. Again, in the lower elevations, it was very, very warm, almost felt like summer in a lot of those areas. So let's get right into it here, and before we do, let's talk about the final reports, or the reports that are kind of finishing up here. We do still have some snow showers moving throughout parts of the northeast here, mainly in the interior part of the northeast, although some of them are reaching the coast. Some of the reports have actually come in for parts of Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and northern upstate New York, which weren't in yesterday. We do have some 12-plus inch amounts as we get into parts of northern upstate New York and into northern Maine as well. We have a few pockets that are over 18 inches of snowfall. Of course, we have that jackpot zone, which was in pretty much the kind of in between all three of New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. All of those areas got closer to 36 inches of snowfall. The maximum report was right around 36 inches of snowfall. So definitely we saw a lot of snowfall, and we're actually still seeing more snowfall throughout these regions. So you could add to those totals. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of these areas do get over 2 feet of snowfall, especially in northern Maine there. Here's your wind gusts, and kind of just supporting what I was saying before, here's your maximum wind gusts for the event. These are the wind gusts, not even the sustained winds, and the wind gusts are maybe going to get to around 34 knots, which is around 40 miles per hour, so you can assume the sustained winds are around 20 miles per hour, or right around there. So it really isn't a full-blown blizzard for a lot of these areas, and for most of the storm, it's actually mainly just some wind gusts gusting to around 30 miles per hour with sustained winds around 10 to 15. So nothing too major in terms of the blizzard conditions. Of course, you will see some blizzard conditions, although it's not one of those major full-blown blizzards over those areas. Now, here's another thing that we need to kind of watch out for. The snow, which is currently moving throughout parts of North Dakota and South Dakota, and moving through Wyoming and Colorado. That's what's going to be moving throughout parts of the northern plains, and eventually reaching into some of these areas in the Great Lakes. So let's time this out out for you guys. This would be by right around 6 p.m. tonight Central Time. Here would be by 9 p.m. Here's by 12 a.m. Tonight and into tomorrow morning. We're dealing with more of that light to moderate snowfall back through Minnesota, and then some of that snow also for parts of Nebraska and into Minnesota. Now, once we go forward from here, it's going to really start to ramp up. So here would be by 3 a.m., here's by 6 a.m. Central Time, and we're looking at more of that heavy to moderate snowfall moving throughout parts of the Midwest. So from Kansas and Nebraska northeastward into Iowa, northern Iowa, that's mainly going to contribute to your visibilities. You have those very strong, or you have that very heavy snowfall, and due to those moderate winds, that could of course lead to some of those blizzard-like conditions. And then through eastern Minnesota and northwestern Wisconsin, you guys are dealing with more of that moderate to heavy snowfall at times. And then let's switch over to what the Great Lakes are looking at. This would be by Thursday, right around, or tomorrow, and this would be right around 9 a.m. Central Time. Here's by 12 p.m., and we're looking at more of that moderate to heavy snowfall moving throughout parts of Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, into Wisconsin, and the UP of Michigan as well. And then we're going to start to deal with more snow moving into parts of Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, and that area. So this would be by right around 3 p.m. Tomorrow. Here would be by 6 p.m. and here would be by this would be by 9 p.m. So we're dealing with more moderate to heavy snowfall now entering parts of Michigan, actually much of the state of Michigan, through much of Indiana and northern and western Ohio as well, dealing with more of that snow. I would caution you guys, if you live over to the northeast, you will have a cold air mass in place ahead of this, so you might be able to squeeze out some moderate to heavy snow at the onset for even some of these areas closer to the mid-Atlantic and closer to the coastal areas. So you might get a quick burst at the start that switches over to some lighter moderate rain. So definitely don't get caught off guard from that. You will most likely see a little bit of snow at the onset of this. And then here's what the NAM does as it heads into the northeast. We're seeing this arm of moisture moving further to the east. This would be by Friday right around 12 a.m. Here's by 3 a.m. Central Time, 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Here would be by 6 a.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Here's 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and then here would be by right around 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So what we're dealing with here is more of that snow moving throughout parts of Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, into New York and Massachusetts, and you will again most likely deal with more of that snow right on the onset, maybe for 15 to 30 minutes as you if you live closer to the coast. As you get further inland and as you get further away from the coast, maybe that could last for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours before switching over to rain. And if you live in upstate New York, northern and western Massachusetts, into Vermont, New Hampshire, and parts of Maine, you might not even switch over at all with this system, but it will be a very fast moving system. It should leave maybe an inch at most for a lot of these regions, and then it should head out of here. And then this would be by Friday right around 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Here's 7 p.m. And this is the end of the model run, but you can definitely tell that we are dealing with moderate to heavy snowfall at times in northern Maine, rain along the coast, and this is what's going to set the stage for that next nor'easter type system that you've been hearing about most likely. It really all depends on what's happening with this system right here. A lot of people want to fast forward to what's going to happen later this week and into the weekend, but in order to really understand what's going to happen then, we really have to understand what's going to happen with this system right now, because this system is going to set the stage for whatever blocking there needs to be in place, whatever cold air needs to be in place, and this will be a very big factor into where that heaviest snowfall sets up for the northeast with that next system, and if there even will be any snow with that system. So here's the snowfall total from the NAM model, which we just looked at, and we're looking at anywhere in the grays under an inch to 2 inches, 2 to 6 inches in the blues, 6 to 10 inches in the purples, and anywhere in the pinks, that's 10 plus inches of snowfall. So we're dealing with a wide swath of 2 to 5 or even 6 inches of snowfall in most of these areas throughout the northern and the upper Ohio Valley and much of the Great Lakes in general. And then we're dealing with potentially, because of lake effect enhancement, potentially a little bit more snowfall, 6 plus inches in parts of the UP of Michigan. So Let's look at a couple different models and see what they're showing. Here's what the European model shows, and it's actually quite similar, although it does have some higher amounts over parts of the northern Great Lakes. This is on a 10 to 1 ratio, and we know it's going to be a lot more than a 10 to 1 ratio. A 10 to 1 ratio basically means that we have 10 inches of snow for every 1 inch of liquid equivalent. So 1 inch of rainfall would be 10 inches of snowfall. But as you get colder, and as the atmosphere is colder, if you were to head up further to the north, that ratio is probably going to be closer to 15 to 1 or 20 to 1. So you might be able to even double what some of these amounts are showing in the UP of Michigan. And I wouldn't go as far as saying to double it, but you could definitely add a couple inches to some of these amounts, because if you're assuming a 10 to 1 ratio, we know it will be colder than whatever that 10 to 1 ratio is, maybe closer to 12, 13, 14 to 1 ratio. So you could actually add a couple more inches to that, just because it will be a little bit colder, and that might add a little bit more snowfall than what you're seeing on some of these maps. And then here's what the GFS model is showing, and you can see actually fairly similar to what the European model is showing. It really tones down the snowfall for the northeast, and you can definitely tell the bulk of the snowfall will fall in the Great Lakes and the interior northeast, and there just might be some light accumulations in areas into the lower Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, and into the coastal northeast and mid-Atlantic, mainly just on the onset, and then it should quickly switch over to some rainfall. So here's my snowfall forecast for this event. Under an inch of snow, meaning a dusting, a coating of an inch, maybe just some flurries in the air from now through Saturday over all of these areas. So this is the bare minimum. You might just see some flakes not even accumulating to the grass in this area. But as you get into this 1 to 3 inch area, this is where I think you might actually get some decent accumulation. You see that throughout parts of the northern plains, with a little exception in the Dakotas and Minnesota, and back through the Great Lakes and into the interior northeast especially. That's where I'm looking at 1+ inches of snowfall, so 1 to 3 inches of snowfall, 3 to 6 inches of snowfall all throughout the Great Lakes from Iowa to about Michigan, and then back through into northern Pennsylvania and upstate New York, and then another area for much of Vermont, mainly in those higher elevations, northern New Hampshire, and into northern and especially interior Maine there, where I'm looking at 3+ inches of snowfall, maybe up to 6 inches of snowfall in some areas. Here's that 6 to 12 inch area, and that includes parts of central Wisconsin up through the UP of Michigan and into northwestern Michigan, as well as parts of northern Maine, where I think you could get 6+ inches. If you live in the UP of Michigan, you guys could get closer to 10 inches of snowfall in some pockets here and there, especially in the northern UP of Michigan. As you get some lake effect bands to come in behind the system, you might be able to get a little bit more lake effect enhancement, and that should add to some of your totals. Now, here's something else that I want to talk about, and this is going to be your low temperatures, because they will be very, very cold behind the system. So this would be by Thursday. The system is right around here by this point, and it's still moving by. You can see that up in Canada, we actually have some rather cold air. Anywhere in these types of colors, kind of in that gray and almost into the green color right here, anywhere north of there is in the below zero area. So that's where you're below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And you're going to see that behind the system, this would be by Friday the 5th, here's by Saturday the 6th, and then here's by Sunday the 7th. We're dealing with very cold temperatures for much of the northern half of the country here, and you look up into Canada, and this is where your cold air is coming from. Look at Alberta, Canada, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, all of these areas, pretty much for the entirety of those provinces are below zero, and even some of those areas closer to negative 50 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. You can assume wind chills will be closer to negative 60 or negative 70 up in central and northern Canada, and then some of that will spill down into the United States. Of course, we're not going to be seeing negative 40 or negative 50 degrees Fahrenheit for your actual temperatures. Maybe a couple wind chills could get closer to there, but you will definitely see some below zero digits, and maybe even closer to negative 20 degrees in parts of Minnesota, North Dakota, or Montana there. And if you were to continue this forward, here would be by Monday the 8th, here's by Tuesday Tuesday the 9th, here's by Wednesday the 10th, here's by Thursday the 11th, and you can definitely tell that we're not really seeing this go. We're seeing a big bubble of below zero temperatures that extends from the northern plains, the Rockies, eastward into the northeast and back through southeastern Canada. So we definitely have a cold air mass in place, and it doesn't look like it's moving anytime within the next week or so. Here would be by Friday the 12th, which is the last day on this model, and you can still tell that parts of the Great Lakes and into the northern plains are still below zero for your low temperatures. Of course, your high temperatures might actually get above that 0 degree line, maybe even above 10 degrees in some of these areas, but it'll still be very, very cold, well below average for this time of year, and it's definitely gonna start to feel like winter. We already saw Winter Storm Orlena go by. That definitely set the stage for whatever wintry pattern is gonna come up, because we have an active pattern, and you mix that with the cold temperatures, and definitely you could see a little bit more snow come into the picture as we head further into the month of February. February is usually one of the snowiest months, tied with January in a lot of areas. So we could definitely still see a couple of chances to see some snowfall and some cold air throughout this month. So definitely it's looking wintry, it's looking cold, and it's looking snowy in a lot of areas. So this is gonna wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.